A lot of information, and we'll open it up for any questions that you may have on this data, and I'll defer to folks that may have the ready answer for you. Stephen?
The Colonel referenced a small number of offenders that you try to monitor. Does that hold for each of these categories, aggravated assaults and burglaries and robberies and that sort of thing?
Burglaries, robberies, the gun violence, yes. As far as the aggravated assaults, that's an outlier. Right. Because of the nightclub activity and a spur of the moment chance encounter where you stepped on my foot in the nightclub and I didn't like the way you looked at me and things like that. But for the most part, yes, it is a small number driving those numbers.
And oftentimes you know these people.
We do. You know, oftentimes, you know, it's incredible to me. It's been this way for years. With technology and footages, surveillance footages, when we put someone's picture out, invariably, one of the district officers will know that individual in the picture. That's so-and-so. I had an encounter with him a week and a half ago.
And overall, what do you attribute to the decline in these metrics?
It's hard to empirically pinpoint exactly. It really is. But I always say it's the comprehensive, holistic approach in everything we do, both as a department with that whole community-oriented policing approach, however, in sync with information from the plainclothes side. So it's the comprehensive approach internally, but as well externally with our external partners. You're seeing crime continue to drive up in many cities around the country, or at least stay static. If you look at the data from 2010 to 2019 in Providence, it was continually going down. And then the pandemic, in the second half of 2020, we shot up like everyone else. But we got a pretty good handle on it in the last couple of months, and I think we're back to where we want to be, and that's trending in the downward direction.
The shooting on Wickenden, two questions. One, can we get an update on that? Anything you know so far? How did that happen? And two, how concerned are you about this? You know, it's around 7:30. There was the weekend, probably a crowded street, and on a place like Wickenden Street, we don't really ever see stuff like that there.
Extremely appalling and disturbing, no doubt. And later on in night, we see we make an apprehension with.
So just to be like precise, it wasn't a shooting; it was a shots fired.
Right.
Okay. So do we know how the window got shattered then? Or?
Yes.
It is shot fired.
So in our terms, that shots fired.
Yeah.
So shooting is when someone is hit by gunfire. So it's shots fired. But again, we make a gun apprehension a few hours later. This is omnipresent. We're dealing with this stuff every single day. No one shot fired or one shooting incident is acceptable. Is it disturbing? Yes, absolutely. But this is the challenge that we have. Not only the police department, but all the groups that we work with in this community in driving down violence and keeping the community safe. So yes, it is disturbing. The update, look, the gentleman who runs that business, he was certainly unnerved by what happened. I know the city sent some resources down to clear the debris from his sidewalk. We've been in communication with him on the detective side, and we're trying to determine if it's related to one of the other incidents that we had going on that night. But again, you look at the last month in the city of Providence, we've had events with 100,000 people PVD, maybe 100,000 people Pride. Now we've had a festival, the Cape Verdean Festival over the weekend. By and large, all of those events went very peacefully. A large group of people in wide spread out geographical areas. So it's a constant challenge with there were Major Romolina just walked in. He strategized endlessly before each of those big events to ensure the safety of the people who attend these events. So is it unnerving? Yes, of course. But it's our constant attention with all of our partners, not only the police department, in all this work.
Chief, what do you have to say to ATVs in the city? That's something that's not a data point here, but something that residents continually express their concern that they do not feel safe on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
You were all out at a press conference last spring saying, do not come to the city There was an event just this past weekend where a gentleman said that he was engaged by off-road vehicle bikes that smashed his window in, and that he said he was told that there was so much crime that to come back the next day and provide a police report. What is the state of ATVs in the city this summer, with folks again continually saying that they don't feel safe Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night? That's all you hear around the city, and people say that they continue to get terrorized.
So another omnipresent challenge that we have are ATVs, and we put together, I spoke about it at last press conference that we had. I don't think you were here, Kate, but we have so many temporary task forces going on, and one of them surrounds ATVs. And in the last couple of weeks, we've activated those resources and those task forces, and we keep continually taking off some of these dangerous, menacing vehicles off the street. But we're not just gonna rid it just like that. So does it continue? Yes. Has it continued in municipalities around the country in larger ways? Yes. And we speak to our colleagues regionally, nationally all the time. It is a huge challenge. And by design, because of their all-terrain status, they can easily escape and evade the apprehension by police. So we have to be strategic in how we take these vehicles off the street and by and large these young men and women who ride them to ensure that everyone is safe, including if we start chasing them and pursuing them. We do not have a no chase policy. We have a pursuit policy that guides us to pursue these vehicles safely. And at such point where a pursuit becomes unsafe, then we break it off and live for another day and get the vehicles off the street that we can on that particular moment that we've activated the task force. In the last couple of weeks, we've gotten about 15 really menacing vehicles where they're endangering the driving public, both in vehicles, on motorcycles, pedestrians. We get it, and we know it's a huge issue in this community, but we'll continue for the rest of the summer in directing this temporary task force towards ATVs as well. So we're laser focused on gun violence, nightclub activity, college nightlife activity, ATVs. We just finished up on a fireworks temporary task force. It's constant. We're constantly strategizing what's before us these couple of days, this week. Where are our numbers increasing? Where do we need to direct our most attention?
And just as a follow-up on the perception of public safety, Billy Taylor Park, 5 shootings in the last several years. I mean, what's your thought? I mean, a public park that has seen continual shootings on Providence's east side. What's police looking to do to address that?
So yes, I mean, we can't have police officers on every corner 24 hours a day, but when we have activity like that, once again, we direct our resources. I know the major, he called me each one of those events, both sometimes before. What people don't realize is oftentimes things that we prevent, and it's hard to empirically say what we prevented, but oftentimes we direct resources in certain areas based on intelligence and information we had, and we did it recently up there on Camp Street near Billy Taylor Park for an entire weekend, and there was 0 incidents. And then you may go a month and a half and there's no incidents, and then there's an incident. So it's a challenge. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it and say there will never be another incident at this location or with ATVs. It's a constant challenge.
Have there been any arrests for the other shooting that happened on Sunday near Gaspy and Francis Streets where a 28-year-old man was hit?
Very active investigation, and no arrest to report on at this point, but I believe there will be.
Do you think that might be connected to the other shooting
No,
that night?
no, we don't believe so.
Can you share some of those details? Like-
Yeah, so that's if you will, in our terms, an out-of-town shooting. There's a resident visiting that hotel, and he's there to meet an ex-partner with a child custody arrangement involved. And when those individuals show up, there's someone else in the vehicle, and they produce a firearm and fire several shots. So there's a hotel involved. It's adjacent to the highway. The people are from out of state. There's another challenge. You know, we have a huge hotel population in this city, so there's another challenge. But
How's the victim?
a very stable. Yeah, it's gonna be fine, but and cooperating too.
Just one follow-up on the jewelry store. You mentioned that you were investigating whether it's connected to other activity that happened that night. Can you specify? So if it's not
Meaning
that-
with the gun apprehensions.
Okay.
maybe we can, through the ballistics through NIBIN, if we can match up any of the ballistics of that crime scene with other events.
But not the hotel.
No.
Steve,
Correct.
Brian, do you guys have something?
Chief,
for
what
me?
are you seeing in terms of the white supremacist literature? And what can the police do about that? We've seen that reported in several cities, including Providence. Is there an update on that investigation?
Yeah, so very disturbing. I spoke with Major LePayton on that. We're coordinating with the Rhode Island Fusion Center and our local municipal police chiefs who I've spoken to. They've been circulated throughout the state. People are alarmed, rightfully so. Over the weekend, I spoke to several people who had seen those pamphlets, and we're trying to make a determination as to where they're coming from and address it.
All right,
What law
thank you
could
guys.
you use?
All right, this is the last one, guys, okay? Last one.
What law could you use to actually crack down on that? Is there a specific criminal offense that you could use to stop that activity from happening?
Yeah, so, you know, this is the balance, right? Somebody can put up their hateful speech, and it's protected. There's nothing criminal about that. As gross as it is, and it's not a crime. When we talk about hate crime only kicks in when there's another preceding crime, like an assault or vandalism, that is targeted because of hate in a protected group. Now, you can't post it on, telephone poles or public spaces, technically, but you can say pretty much anything you want in America. And this is another example of somebody with hate in their mind and in their heart putting out messages that are hateful and hurtful to our community. That in itself is not a crime. We'd like to know who it is, and we want it reported, because if we could prove subsequently that a crime was committed and then tie all these things back to that person, then we may have either a federal or a state violation. But that in itself is not a technical crime. Hope that I'm gonna violate Lindsay's last one, but go ahead, Stephen.
Thank you. Did I understand you to say that these 5 weapons were all seized over the course of this past weekend
That's correct.
in 5 different instances?
That's correct.
Any of these involved that shooting near the mall?
No,
And not the jewelry store.
we don't know yet. So we're gonna take these guns, we're gonna send them through our ballistics analysis, and maybe one of these guns was used in mass, or another shooting a week ago or 10 days ago. That's the beauty of technology and this ability nationally to connect guns and shell casings that we find to a nexus for a lead.
These were seized not necessarily in the course of the commission of a crime.
I can't say that because people have been charged. These are illegal guns that people face consequences. But these 5 guns, we don't have ADW charges on those folks that carry.
Correct.
Accurate?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your attendance, and this is important to push out to the public. We're going to continue to do everything we can to stop violence in our city. Thank you.